Alright, hey, thanks for tuning in. This is a St. Patty's Day. Hang on. There we go. St. Patty's Day. Even the water is green. This video is just to demonstrate the difference between the way that bots fight against people and people fight against people in World of Warships. There's co-op battles and then random battles. I'm going to show you a battle of each, and you'll get to see the difference between the two. The ship you see, of course, is the Kuma, a tier 4 ship. I just picked this one out because it's one of my favorites. There's just so much you can do with this ship. But regardless of the ship you choose, there are differences between co-op battles and the random battles. Co-op battles are against the bots. So here's the Kuma. Ooh, nice. And you can see all the shamrocks around. Including a shamrock-laden ferry going into the back there. Anyway, take a look up top. You'll see the different types of battles that they have there. Co-op battle is fight against bots in cooperation with other players. Those are players on your team. The next one down is random battle. Fight against real players. The matchmaker will create teams randomly. And I can tell you that the bots don't fight like people and the people don't fight like bots. So we are going to do first a battle of fight against bots. Now the first thing I want to point out is the size of the teams when you're doing player versus bots. Big difference. Not only in size but in composition. Are we going? There we go. Okay, let me pause for a moment. You'll see that there's only 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 players versus 8 players. And look horizontally across between my team and the enemies. The ships are matched. The Myogi for the Myogi, the Kawachi for the Kawachi, the Kuma for the Kuma, the Svetlana for the Svetlana, and so on. All of the battles against bots are going to be laid out like that. The enemies, which are the bots, they'll have the same types of ship that my team has. But you never know on your team what the other players are going to be like. So I'm just zipped ahead here. I'm sure you all know this map. Now what you want to look for, and I'll point it out several times throughout the battle, is how do the bots move? How do the bots shoot? What do they do? Where do they go? How do they do it? And also, take a look at our team. Where are they going? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? When it's you versus bots, you'll find that the players on your team have a tendency to just sprawl out. They're going everywhere. They really are. Now the map that you see, this map is a very common one. There usually is a group of enemy ships going up the 9-10 line. That's just par for the course. And that is why you'll always see players familiar with this map. There'll usually be 3 or 4 that head on over to the 9-10 line to take on whoever's coming up that side of the map. And if you look on the 4-5 line, you'll see that our team is beginning to break up quite a bit, and that's common when it's our team versus bots. On the mini map, and you'll see that our guys are not bunched up, not at all. Instead, they're kind of all doing their own thing. You got one guy going more or less down the middle, diagonally, a couple of guys also going more or less down the middle, and the enemy is all over the place. In short, everybody is all over the place. But also notice that the bots are not holding back. They are charging in. In fact, there's one all the way up with the guy I'm aiming at right now. He's on the B line. He started out way down by the H line. When you're against bots, these guys do not hold back. Maybe once in a while something will go on with the logic and you'll see a bunch of them stop. I don't know why, but they do that. I have seen it maybe twice, and it was both on the neighbors map. But otherwise, they just come charging in, man. They're going for it. Guns a-blazing, charging in, completely sprawled out all over the place, just like our team. It's kind of a free-for-all. Which is why, when it's player versus bots, if you can get a group together that more or less moves as a team, maybe 2 kilometers apart, and they push as a team, moving in the same direction, you can just devastate the enemy, because they tend to be sprawled out all over the place, and you'll wind up with 3 or 4 guys on your team just gunning down one ship on the enemy team. This is called PvE, player versus E, whatever E means, and probably computer. And when you're playing against other players, it's called PvP, player versus player. At least I think so. Taking a look at the mini-map, you can see that our team is still pretty much spread out all over the place. And so is the enemy. The bots, that's just the way they run. It's turning out to be a decent battle. And we got one battleship in the middle of the map who's going for their cap. That's a smart play. Those are my torps, and they're gonna run out just like a whisper away from hitting that St. Louis. Oh, I wanted that kill so bad.
Victory is in sight.
As the battle has unfolded, you can see our team is still pretty much spread out everywhere. And so are they. And I'm about to finish this guy. Oh, for crying out loud, that was 5 direct hits and no damage. There we go.
Enemy cruiser sunk. Our victory is in sight.
What you also do not see is you don't see the bots bunching up. That's kind of key. Okay, he's gone. Alright. So, that is... Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that battle. I wanted another kill. I'd be really happy if I had another kill. Anyway, notice that I only got 375 experience. Took first place. That's nice. But only got 375 experience. I'm going to come back to that a little later. You can take a look at the different types of shells used against different enemies and crunch the math to find out which one did more damage against which ship and whether or not they were angled against me or broadside against me. That's more a question of shooting strategy. But I'm going to take the same ship, the Kuma, and I'm going to go into random battles. This is player versus player. Click the battle button. And one of the first things I'm going to point out, you're going to notice it. It's going to jump right out at you. Come on. You can do it. Look at those teams. It's not 6 or 7 against 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 versus 12. Much bigger teams. Also, take a look horizontally across. Notice that the ships are different. We've got a Bogue, they've got a Zuiho. We've got a Hosho, they've got a Langley. We got a Wyoming, they got an Arkansas. We got a Nikolai the First, they've got a Kaiser, and so on. The random battle generator, or person versus person, they're gonna be different ships on those teams, and it really helps if you get to know what the different ships can do. Alright, let's get going. Now in player versus player, you're going to see that our team and the enemy teams have a tendency to bunch up. They stay together and they move as a group. They also don't go charging headlong into each other. Instead, they maintain distance and rely on long-range gunfire to do the damage for them. Those two things, those are the main differences between player versus player and player versus bot. When you go against players, it's long-range shooting, usually, but not always. And people just bunch up and seldom go charging out on their own. Now the destroyers, of course, it's different. They always charge out ahead so they can scout, because it's so hard for them to get spotted. And of course the carriers do their own thing too. Alright, so we've been detected. We can see at G4 our first enemy, and oh, we got one closer. Now he's moving left to right on the screen. Watch what's going to happen when I land my first hit on him. Boom. You see that? How fast he's turned around? Bots are not that quick to jump on the rudder. Other players are. Getting on that rudder is how you throw off incoming fire. Throw off the person shooting at you. And you can see, even on the mini-map, that I am just all over the place on the rudder. If you sail in a straight line against bots, you're probably going to get hit. If you sail in a straight line on player versus player, you're history. Because they will just annihilate you. Also, if you go charging out away from your team, they're going to spot that you're the closest target and that you're relatively unescorted, and they're just going to focus fire on you and burn you down. So try not to do that. If you look at the mini-map, I'm a little bit further ahead southwise than most of my team. A lot of the team went all the way up towards the B4 area. We're going to come back to that in a minute. I'm doing all I can down here, and I didn't notice it on the mini-map at G5. There's a battleship coming at me. Now, I'm a light cruiser. The battleship is about the worst thing I could go up against, but I didn't notice it. Instead, I'm charging in. About the dumbest thing you can do when you are in a player versus player. Now, I have spotted him, and I'm going to go ahead and send some torps at him. Maybe I'll get lucky, but I've got to get out of here. So I've started turning north, and now I've noticed that there are 3 ships down there. They probably can't see that destroyer right beside me, but they can sure see me. I'm going to go ahead and lay in some fire on this enemy ship. But you'll notice on the mini-map, for the most part, our team is more or less grouped together, mostly up north. Our carriers are doing their own thing, and we got a pretty good tight group down here that's south. The enemy is more or less in a diagonal line, and you'll see them popping in and popping out of the map. But the diagonal line runs from upper left down to lower right. That's really typical in player versus player. The enemy team and even your team will tend to maintain distance and rely on long-range fire. That's very common. Very common. Okay, so those torps that I sent down towards that battleship should be nearly there. This is where I made my mistake. I went charging in. This was just dumb. And that's a battleship. And I am not going to hold my own against a battleship. Even with friends, I'm not gonna last. And ouch. There goes a nice 10% of my health. Maybe I can get lucky. Uh-oh. Oh, somebody has torps over there. Whoa! Close. Still, I'm very much in way over my head. I really am in trouble here, and I'm probably not gonna make it. Yeah, even his secondaries are tearing into me. This is what you don't want to do in player versus player battle, is overextend yourself. I'm gonna pause the video for a moment. Take a look on the minimap, AB4. We got a bunch of our guys up there grouped together, and the enemies are pretty far away. And up in that group we've got, looks like 2 battleships and 2 cruisers. The battleships are within range. The cruisers, maybe. But maybe being that they are at the extreme range of their gunfire. And it's the same with the enemy. That group of ours way up north, our group is at the extreme range of their gunfire, which is again very common in player versus player. I'm going to try and get more torps off to this battleship if I can. Oh, he nailed me. 15,568 damage. I went from maybe 70% health to 0. That's what a battleship can do. Ooh, man, oh man, does that hurt. Maybe I'll get lucky and hurt him here. Now the first salvo's gonna miss, and I will hit one on the second salvo. That always helps. Now you notice our carriers have pushed a little south. That's pretty aggressive. That's good carrier work. The southernmost carrier has gotten behind an island, so it's going to be real hard for him to get nailed. And these guys are duking it out. Take a look at our team up north. B4. Boy, are they sticking together. That's really very common, and it's something you're going to get to see a lot of if you go player versus player. Anyway, our enemy carrier goes after this Arkansas. And there's 1 and 2. So he's almost gone. He'll be gone in a minute. Yeah, he's flooding. Yep, he's definitely flooding. And boom. Alright, so he's gone. So now we've got a bunch of guys down here kind of spread out against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 enemies. We don't know where their carriers are, but you notice that our group up north is still very grouped together. And you can bet that they're relying on long-range gunfire to take on the enemy. I'm going to go ahead and zip ahead a bit in the video. Now these two guys are so close, it's a knife fight. And torp exchange. Oh, he's gone. And the enemy going north. I don't know how that torpedo missed on the enemy. I really don't. Probably lost a coat of paint. So now the enemy carrier's going after our cruiser, who's all by his lonesome. Something you don't see very often is when somebody goes out all by their lonesome on a player versus player battle. Even getting overextended is enough to get you into trouble. Now these guys are going to start pushing south, but they're still going to stay together, absolutely, as a group. And this enemy cruiser is doing a superb job of dodging. I don't know how he dodged that one. He's done a really good job. Let's go ahead a bit in the video. So now we've lost track of all enemy ships, and our guys are still pretty much grouped together except for one battleship around G7. And that battleship has got a lot of guts. That's tight knit in there. Okay, so we've got a Karl Schur and a Kaiser. Good hit on the Kaiser. Now there's so few enemy ships left that it's really hard for them to stay together as a group, but they're only about 5 kilometers apart, and they are moving in the same direction as a line. That's really good. That's typically what people are going to do. Oh boy, our battleship here is toast, and he was off by his lonesome. Yeah, he was off by his lonesome. And if you go out on your lonesome, you don't have much defense. Meanwhile, over here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 ships that are able to focus fire and defend each other. This is a real benefit in World of Warships. If you could do this kind of cooperation on a player versus bot battle, you guys would be unstoppable. It would just be scary. Which is why you have clans forming. And World of Warships has got clans as an up and running program, so that people who know each other and who know strategy and play well together, they can do this. Alright, so we've got enemy carriers been spotted. There's only 2 enemy carriers left. I think you can see how this battle is going to go. But this enemy carrier is toast. Oh yeah, he's toast. He had to turn to his starboard so he could nose into the fire and minimize the surface area that was going to get shot at. But in doing so, he was turning broadside to the torpedoes. Now they're trying to torp our carrier. I'm just going to zip ahead a bit here, because our guys are wised up. They're staying in the cap, and we're going to win on points. We don't have to sink the enemy. This is something else you'll see a lot of. So I'm going to pause the video here. You're going to get to see a lot of this in player versus player battles. Take a look at our ships in the minimap. They're pretty much all in the enemy cap. They're not going after that last carrier. If you go player versus bot, you'll see the players just go gang rolling, power steaming, trying to kill every last enemy, not paying much attention to the points. But when you go player versus player, points are very important, and you'll see people do this. They will crowd in and they will win on points. They will not go out for the kill. They go for the win. Alright. Now you remember after last game I told you that I scored 375 experience. This time I played worse and I scored 1075 experience. You're gonna get a lot more experience, a lot more silver, and a lot more free experience if you play player versus player than you will if you go player versus bot. Over 3 times as much. It's really impressive how fast you can gain experience, free experience and silver, if you're willing to play in player versus player. Just rest assured, player versus player is a lot harder. The bots are good. They'll kill you. The bots are good, but other players are just a lot better. So in team score, you can see I scored pretty far down. Didn't take first, not at all. And you can see the different types of shells I used against the different types of enemies. And you can do the math to find out which shell was the right one to use. And credits. Well, there it is. Back to port. Back to port. Thank you. Anyway, that is the major differences between player versus player and player versus bot. That's it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a great St. Paddy's Day.